Welcome everybody to the Texture Pop Podcast. We're recording this on a new night, so if you hear something smash the keyboard, that is my face falling down.
It's my fault. All my fault.
It's Chris's fault for not being homeless, having jobs.
What?
If only you would just quit your job and be homeless.
If you were just homeless, this would all work out, Chris.
Yeah, because then I would have no freaking way to record any of this idiot.
Well, you could live with your parents and be a deadbeat. That works too.
But I already do. That's
Just be more. Be deader.
Deadbeater. Be deadbeater.
Yeah, you should work on that.
what is this? Warm bodies?
I don't know.
Be dead.
All right. I am. Okay. Okay. I'm awake. Shit. Okay.
The
I am your
limping
host, Sam Callahan.
The limping husk Samuel Callahan. I am his second in command, Brandon Carey. Joining us, of course, is Chris Acharya.
Will you let him do the fucking intro? Like,
What intro? You recording something?
And G.
I thought you were.
Hello, everybody.
All right. This week we do not have any viewer questions, as Brandon has told me. And so if you do want to submit a viewer question, you can do so at thetexturepop@gmail.com. Or you can, if it's short enough, you could submit a tweet to @thetexturepop on Twitter. If you see a picture of a cheeseburger, that's it.
This is nobody's fault because we were literally recording this 3 days after the last episode that got published.
I mean, I'm basically just going to play back the audio file from last week for my turn. I'll sound way more excited.
Why waste the energy?
Nope, it's useless. Anyway, so with that being said, I think we should get right on to news.
Yes. We have 2 pieces of news we can talk about this week. The first one is a story on Battlefield Hardline.
Just coming out next week, I think.
Some of you may not be aware of this, but Battlefield Hardline has a single-player campaign.
So I've heard.
This campaign also has stealth elements. And with stealth elements comes these inane conversations that guards have when they don't see you. Now, originally, they were going to use these conversations to kind of flesh out the guards and make them feel like normal people. For example, they had one guard in particular talking about how he's going to hook up with his girlfriend to go to the movies next week. But they decided not to do that, and that's what the story is about. They decided to instead change that because they did not want the players to feel bad about killing people.
Yeah.
Which I feel like defeats the entire point of that game.
I know,
yeah,
there is no reason not to make this like a Middle Eastern, a shooter in like the Middle East.
Well, the thing is, we live in a very post-Spec Ops world, which tells us that we should challenge ourselves on our perceptions of shooting people. And, you know, considering the current political climate, it's just so weird that they're just going like complete standard action movie style. Just like, you're a rogue cop and there's no downsides to this or anything.
Yeah, and rogue cop isn't exactly a popular concept in the modern parlance.
Nope. No, it is not.
No, not at all.
So I've seen like the first hour or so of the single-player campaign, and one of the things is that within the very first mission of the entire game, the first thing you do is shoot a couple of guys who don't have any guns.
Of course.
Naturally. But the first like real mission, like mission 1, is like one of the first you do is you're going through a neighborhood, and then the cop buddy that you're with is like, all right, you're not going to tell anybody that we're totally illegally breaking and entering, right? And he's like, nope. And I'm like, all right, this is already
so you're saying
great.
by the end of the first mission, the character should have already handed in their badge, guns, and already been sent to jail at this point.
Pretty much. It's just, you know, like even without the current political climate being what it is, I still find that kind of weird. But it's also disappointing because I don't know if you guys have played SWAT 4 before.
I have not.
Old PC game.
No.
Because that was a game that really... Because I feel like they're doing this because they don't want to make the game boring. They're like, if you just play cop, that'd be boring. Whereas a game like SWAT 4, the whole idea was that you play as a SWAT team leader, and it's all like by the books. Like, you know, if you shoot someone, that's a big deal in that game. Like, it is the worst possible outcome if you shoot anybody in that. So I felt like... But the thing was, that game was intense. And it's like, why couldn't they just make a Battlefield campaign that was like SWAT 4? Where it's like the whole thing is about moving around completely non-lethally.
I think you answered your own question when you said it was a Battlefield campaign.
I guess, but they have stealth elements, and you can handcuff everybody. Like, you get like a special award every time that you clear an area without killing anybody, just called by the books. And it's like, if you're gonna go that far, you might as well just make it more SWAT-like. It's just weird. It's like caught somewhere in the middle of like, I want to be an action game and I want to tell a story of a cop.
It seems tone deaf, and I wonder how much of that is EA's indirect involvement with the game, because I believe this is made by the Dead Space developers.
Yeah, Visceral.
Oh, Visceral?
Yeah,
yeah,
they made the campaign.
Yeah. I mean, and the other thing is that, like you said, we kind of live in an area, like an era post-Spec Ops, where, yeah, we should be challenged and everything. Not to mention the fact that there's this whole double standard of, oh, we want to make things more realistic. We want to make things more realistic. But when it comes to facing reality in a game, to do that, because it's like, do you want to highlight the reality?
We cannot have the player
or
question their actions, and we cannot have
or
they
do
are
you
any
wanna,
less awesome than any other character in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just really weird to watch those scenes play
protagonist
out.
needs to be awesome McCool dude, and if that's not, there's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, there's a car chase in the prologue mission. Like, it's a shame because I feel like they're, just from a gameplay standpoint, the use of small environments is interesting, apart from the fact that they're not like warehouses and complexes, it's like actual houses, I think is really interesting. Again, like SWAT 4. And I think they had like you said with this article, they had a really good chance to humanize the enemies in a way that you arguably couldn't do that well before. And they could have really used that to do a very Spec Ops / SWAT style thing of like, hey, you could shoot these guys, but you should feel bad for doing that because they're real people. And that's why they give you the option to handcuff them and arrest them. Say, hey, man, just going to arrest you because I see you're a real human being. Like, that could have been way more interesting.
But we can't have the player feel bad about something they may have done.
Yeah,
I mean, it's also
it's a AAA problem.
It's also kind of the thing with like, Garrett, you might be able to attest to this. Like, action movies. When we see, hero, cop guy, whoever in whatever action film of your choice go through and blow away a bunch of dudes, the audience is never really made to care about the nameless thugs. But,
Wanted. The end of Wanted.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that was anything about that movie, though, that ending scene, though, that was pretty fucking good. Like,
yeah, it is definitely just a weird trope that I'm getting tired of the rogue cop, the guy who has to fight outside the law to get to something. And it's like, but they never really provide much commentary about the justice system and the way that works. Because I get the idea that, like, that the idea of all these rogue cop movies is like, the system doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, but tell me why the system doesn't work. Tell me how you couldn't work around the system. Tell me how you tried to work within the system. And why you're a cop if you're just going to go rogue anyway.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. Like, it always starts the same way of like, I'm a good cop, and it's like, well, I have to do these actions that I don't want to do, but I'm going to do them anyway without really questioning why. It's boring.
And that's why I bring up the story, because it just bothers me how...
Like, every change they have made and every step of this game's development has just been making it more bland, from what I've seen.
Nope, it's not looking pretty.
It's
like, there is nothing that really needs to be a cop game. There is nothing like cop about what you're doing. Like, you could easily be a soldier.
Yeah, it's just a justification for the setting. Like, and just to... It's Battlefield with a new coat of paint, which is really sad to say, because I like Battlefield a lot, but I was really hoping this would be a good mixture of Battlefield's action and physics system with a SWAT 4 style stealth and, like, maneuvering. But it's like, even the stuff like you can hold up your badge to make people freeze, like, it, like you hold it up and then, like, you have to hold your gun next to both of them so they don't attack you, but it's all just so gamey, I guess would be the way to put it. There's nothing really real feeling about it.
It would be nice if you could use the threat of force without actually using force.
And that's kind of what the freeze thing does, where you hold up your badge and all that, but again, it's held down by so many video game systems that it comes off just feeling weird.
And if anyone else has anything to say about that, you go right ahead, but if not, I'll move on.
Really, like, you look at Spec Ops: The Line or games like that, and they question like what you're doing is right, and but that game didn't make money,
Hell, even Far Cry 3, for all the grief we gave it, made some attempt to say, "Oh yeah, you're probably a horrible dick."
It did it poorly, but it tried.
It tried.
Yeah.
It made that token effort, which
Yeah.
is more than I can say for Battlefield Hardline.
I mean, if anything, if you wanted to, you could make it like if it was something like The Last of Us, to where yes, you were in the shoes of a somewhat irredeemable person, and his actions are probably deplorable considering what he does.
Yes.
But that is who he is. You really don't have any agency over it, because if you decide, well, no, I'm going to be peaceful, guess what? You die, idiot. That's
Well, in The Last of Us, they know that Joel is a jerk, and
Yep.
they are willing to own up to that throughout the entire story.
But of course, that wouldn't make you the most interesting person in the room. You can't do that. Like,
Well, it might be most interesting, but not the one that the player feels good about. And I think to
No.
go to the earlier comment about, saying it won't sell, I think it's possible these games can sell. It's just nobody has taken a huge plunge with AAA yet. Like, Spec Ops, it wasn't really a full AAA game. It was definitely a smaller bit. And I think that, like, The Last of Us is kind of getting there, but Naughty Dog has enough budget they can afford to do that. And, they have the actors and all that. And that's the other thing, is that, like, even if you do a story like this, you have to have a really tight script. You have to have really good voice actors, good set pieces. You can't... Because otherwise it's Far Cry 3. This is a cool concept, but it fell apart because you didn't have all the necessary stuff. So you need a big budget. And then, like, I could see the problem with it, but I feel like those kinds of games that, make players question themselves can sell well. It's just not enough people have tried.
and I think that's the other thing with, like, just Battlefield in general. It's like, will the campaign ever feel like something that's not just attached to this big-time multiplayer game that is the real reason why people come to this in the first place? I mean, like I said, I give them props for even bothering with a single-player
I'll be
campaign.
honest, I read that story and I thought, wait a minute, it has a single-player mode?
I usually play them. I like them fine,
The
but I
last
wouldn't buy just
two
one.
actually did have a 3 and 4.
Yeah, first two
I knew
didn't.
4 did. I didn't know that Hardline did.
Yep, they were hyping it up as, like, the big deal was that Visceral was making it, so everybody was like, oh, it's gonna have, like...
Visceral was making it at EA's behest. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, they made Dead Space at EA's behest as well.
Yeah, they made Dead Space 3 at EA's behest too.
I wish they would do stuff again like they did with Bad Company, to where it's like, it's just ridiculous how stupid this all is, but this is kind of fun.
We should probably move on at some point.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Bad Company 2 for 3 hours? It's pretty good.
So the other story we have to talk about is the leader of the Valiant Hearts team has left Ubisoft, and he is going into the indie space.
It's kind of funny because Valiant Hearts was like pseudo indie, but I guess maybe it was more indie
In the
presentation.
interview, he said that's exactly why he's got sick of working on these 500 people projects, and when he saw how good it was again to work with like a team of 30 people, he decided, no, what, screw this. I don't want to work on another 500 person project again. So he went back to the indie space. Now that he had a taste of it while making Valiant Hearts.
I think that one of the Ubisoft guys was like, "Come back! You need to work on the eyebrows for Assassin's Creed Victory. It's your one job for the next year."
Well, there was literally one person who spent 2 years making Notre Dame for Assassin's Creed Unity.
Wow.
Like, that's all she did.
I'm so sorry. It probably
Yeah,
looks great, and I never noticed it.
Yeah, according to this, this guy's resume includes Beyond Good and Evil, Assassin's Creed, and Valiant Hearts. Jan Fernice, I probably butchered his name, but yeah, it really is just kind of this trend, and this was something Brandon and I were discussing earlier about how, like, early 90s, 1990, indie developers really couldn't survive, and they had to get their name out there. They had to go to the big name publishers, and the publishers really were the gateway between the game that you wrote and everything all by yourself to getting it into people's hands and hopefully being able to make a career out of what you did. Nowadays, that's not really the case. If you made a video game all by yourself, like if I went out there and I wrote a fucking game, I could sell it, and I could make money out of it, and I could put it out there and market it and everything all by myself.
You're
with
saying
the help.
you don't even need Steam anymore. You can just
No.
you can just buy a domain name, say this is my game. You want to buy it? Okay, you can buy it, and then there you go. You can sell your game.
Yep. So, I mean, the indie scene becoming what it is, it's like, why wouldn't you? I mean, granted, there are still risks associated with going indie. It's not to say that, that is the only way that you should go. However, for people that do have talent and are able to carry the weight and being able to, get their stuff funded, and not to mention, yes, it's nice to work with a team of 30 people, but you have to remember, if you make your own company and you are in charge of helping those 30 people keep a roof over their heads, food in their stomach, clothes on their back, and doing the same for their families. So
yeah. I imagine that it's just it's a much more friendly environment when you're working with 30 people as opposed to 500.
Oh yeah.
Like, because that's like you're on first name basis with everyone in the office at that point.
And kind of, I mean, as much as I know we want to move on, going back to what we said about with with Battlefield, to where you don't have to worry about what guys in marketing think. You don't have to worry about what the CEO or anybody thinks of whatever creative decisions you make with your game. You want to make that decision, you fucking do it. End of story. But
all you have to do is talk to Larry in the X cubicle over.
Basically, yeah. But yeah, and Ubisoft especially, I mean,
and you're seeing
Ubisoft
this a lot with just a lot of old guard AAA developers who have decided, fuck it, I'm sick of this, and they're going into the indie space.
Yeah, I mean, there was Ken Levine.
Mm-hmm.
That was another big one.
And Peter Molyneux, for better or worse.
I mean, that's an example. It doesn't always work out.
Tim Schafer.
I mean, and not even like the American and the European companies. I mean, even in Japan, where you had Inafune and Shinji Mikami, and those guys left Capcom because they knew Capcom's a shithole and it's only going downhill, and we want to do stuff ourselves, and they've been turning out pretty okay.
Yeah.
I apparently learned from it was either the Best Friend Cast or the Bombcast, some other podcast. They talked it was 8-4 Play, guys who work in Japanese translation
that was in the
for games.
Bombcast.
Yeah. They talked about the idea that apparently all these older guys from Capcom and such actually just left Capcom and became regular salarymen because they didn't know how popular they actually were, or what kind of legacy they would leave behind. So it's like one of the big ones is the guy who created the music for Mega Man 2 just works as a daily salary worker now. It's that's kind of insane.
Yeah, that's. And granted, that's probably less weight off. That's probably more weight off of their shoulders now, simply because of being in those high positions in Japan, especially. It's there's so much bullshit you have to deal with, and being able to take some steps down just to have room to breathe, it gets fucking nuts. I still remember the stories about that one guy that left Capcom. He was producer on Street Fighter 4 in Japan, and he was just fuck all. It was just dangerous for his health to keep working because he had put so many hours into shit.
I mean, that's Sakurai's problem, isn't it? He says he doesn't want to make more Smash Brothers because it's just killing him slowly.
Yeah, for whatever devotion and everything that he'd put into it, just but I'll be interested to see let's see what this guy does, and hope for the best.
So I believe that will end our news segment. Now it's time to go into our regularly scheduled shenanigans. Who would like to go first?
Well, I wasn't here last week, so...
So you go first, Chris.
Sure. So I'm back again, brought to you by Monster Energy.
What flavor are you drinking?
Do what?
What flavor are you drinking?
This is standard green can Monster-ass Monster.
It's does Monster have fucking flavors? Because I never drank
You're
it. It always seems like it's
flavored
colored.
Monster?
Every time I see that, I was I don't even know what Monster tastes like, but I'm assuming it tastes like shit.
Monster.
Also, title this week is Ash Flavored Monster.
Please no. I don't want to get those kinds of viewers.
So two big things that I kind of had to note, despite the fact that I was gone for a week. I've been playing Dragon Ball Xenoverse, which
let's talk about that.
I really want to get that game.
Yeah, so
I
here's
was
my
in the
thing right off the
beta
bat.
for that game.
Do what?
I was in the beta for that game.
Really?
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 What happened is I made a character connected to a battle, and then I could not connect.
Oh,
I hate to break it to you, it's kind of that way now. Oh, not entirely. I'll explain. So basically, like, I got talked into getting this mostly because of a friend of mine, and without even saying anything about the game or how it plays, I still really could only recommend this, and I hope no one else hears that. But I'm okay. But basically, without even saying anything about the game, this is really something that I kind of only recommend to, like, if you are already into, like, DBZ or anything with Dragon Ball. If you are a fan of that and you are into this, you'll get a kick out of this, and you'll be able to excuse, the flaws and stuff that it has, which there are a number of, but it's not something that I don't think makes this terrible. Like, if I were to rate this, I'd probably say this is like a 3 out of 5 game, in all honesty.
From what I've seen, though, it's like you gotta be so into DBZ that you can just be okay with just total fan service. Like, that's the whole, like, crux of the game.
That's exactly what this is.
So tell me about your original character, Do Not Steal.
Oh, I'll get to that.
I stole all of them.
But yeah, I mean, and that is exactly what this is. So the story and the setup behind this is that basically someone is fucking with the timeline of Dragon Ball, and you are a newly recruited Time Patrol member.
You're a time cop.
To go back in time and make sure that things play out right.
Do you remember that show on Cartoon Network called Time Squad?
Yes, that is exactly what this is.
Yes.
You're totally right. No, I was thinking of that. It's DBZ Time Cops, as made by Akira Toriyama. But speaking of which, I kind of like the fact that they have some new, like, animation and stuff that's in this, like just some new hand drawn stuff that I think is cool. But it's kind of cool how, like, your character gets summoned because Trunks gathered the Dragon Balls and he made a wish, like he wished for a strong warrior, and that's where you come in. So that's basically the setup. And you have to go back in time at various moments where, like, things get fucked up. Like, say, like, for instance, one of the very first ones you deal with is, like, Raditz. Like, imagine if he actually murdered both Piccolo and Goku in that first, like, episode of the Saiyan Saga. Like,
man, that show would be pretty short.
Yeah, basically. And that's the other thing, and that's why it's so fan servicey, is because this game is pretty much assuming you already know what kind of happens most
what
of the time.
happened if they had almost died and this random original character Do Not Steal showed up to save their ass?
Basically.
Yeah, you're definitely right in the sense, though, that it's like it says you know every arc and you know all of the pivotal plot moments that happen through DBZ, because if not, you're going to be like, I don't see what's wrong here. What's the screw up?
Basically.
It's like, well, Goku's supposed to die, but not Piccolo.
I mean, if anything, it would probably be like, oh man, because Trunks is like, wait, that wasn't supposed to happen, and like all this other stuff. So, yeah, so like I said, this really is for people who already know about DBZ, otherwise you're going to be scratching your head a bit. So I made my character. And that's one of the things I think is really interesting about this game, is that you can make your own character, and while they give you like a decent number of options of how you want to customize your dude, because you choose between 5 races, and each of them have like different kind of stats. Like, there are Saiyans, obviously, who are like the alien.
We all know who Saiyans are. It's Dragon Ball Z.
And that's the thing. Again, if you know what DBZ is, I'm not going to bother explaining all the shit about Dragon Ball. If you don't know what this is, go to a wiki. But
watch every
like
episode.
There's Saiyans. Yeah, there are Saiyans, there are humans, there are Nameks, which you can only play as dudes. That's kind of a thing about this game, is that some of the races where it's like you can choose between male or female, the men and women actually have different stats.
Yeah, that's a real bummer.
Yeah, like, I don't know the specifics of that, but
I believe my understanding from watching a video on it is that the males for every race have better physical attacks and the females have better ranged attacks.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, so you have Saiyans, humans, Nameks, which are only dudes, Majins, which are basically like, here's what Boo was from the Boo saga. Those can actually be man or woman, which I thought was weird. And then there's another race that they just call Frieza Clan, which is, here's the race of aliens that Frieza is from, despite the fact, like, in Dragon Ball, that race has a canonical name, but I don't even know what it is.
I remember...
So to this day, we still don't know what gender Frieza is, and this game will not give us the answer.
Watching the game of Dragon Ball Xenoverse, and all the Frieza characters in the world had all sorts of stupid cold puns in their names.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, you mean like the Ginyu Force and all that?
Well, no, because Frieza is a pun on freeze.
Yeah.
That's why his father is King Cold and his brother is Cooler.
And by the way, yeah.
So I was gonna say, like, every character in Dragon Ball is a pun.
Yep.
Like Goku, Piccolo, Radish.
And anything that's under Frieza's rule is named after something you'd find in a refrigerator.
Yep,
pretty much.
Raspberry is one of the Ginyu Force.
Yeah. And I think it's safe to say that Frieza is in fact a dude, simply because when you want to make a character from that race, you can only pick dudes. There's no female option for that. So
does that mean Frieza's a dude?
Pretty much.
Saying he likes dudes.
Have we figured this out after what, like 30 years?
Well, they would say he and him in this anime. I've watched that shit.
I don't remember.
But it is a 4Kids dub, so you never know.
Yeah, who knows? For whatever they did on Cartoon Network. But so like you could make your dude, and there's different stats in it. I made a Namek because I think they're cool. And like I said, they don't give you like a shit ton of options as far as character customization, but they give you enough to where like you feel like you could make something that is you and that you might be comfortable with. And I kind of look at because all the characters look the fucking same, it's kind of like South Park, to where yes, characters have the basic same shapes for heads and eyes and everything, so it doesn't
especially
really
the eyes.
Because
Toriyama's art style does not allow for a lot of difference.
So yeah, it's like, of course, if I make a Namek, he's gonna look like Piccolo, but then they all fucking look the same. Like,
you saying you're racist against Nameks?
No, I made a Namek. So, and by the way, sticking with like the theme of like naming them after either objects or fruits, I named my character Sitar.
What?
Think about that.
Sitar.
Yeah.
Sitar.
It's a music instrument.
Yeah.
You mean Centaur?
A sitar.
Oh, I'm thinking of two different things. Never mind.
Yeah. So my character. Yeah, so my character fits the naming convention, which is a lot better.
I was just about to say I should call my character Shamisen, but I think that is the name of a Namekin. Isn't there like Lord Shami or something like that? It was like the guy that Piccolo fused with.
No, that was Nail.
Yeah, he synced with Nail and fused with Kame.
You're thinking of Kame. You're thinking of Kame. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, he was like the good guy, but then there was Nail, who was another dude.
Fucking Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I know.
And Kame had his Hameha.
Shut up. But
oh man, I need to go rewatch the Dragon Ball Z movies.
Like I said, I love the fact that this game doesn't really give a shit about what you name your character. It's really, you could just name them whatever you want. There's no real restrictions or anything to it. Because I think like when it comes to specifying who you want to play with on Steam, it just uses your Steam Works. So because
Steam.
Yeah, as to know, I've been playing on this on PC, despite the fact this is out on Xbone, PS4, and PS3.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, I was gonna get it for PS4 until I know a couple people have it on PC. I didn't hear anything about the PC port, but I'm guessing it runs fine.
Yeah, I've had no trouble with it. Like,
well, aside from the server stuff, but like options-wise.
Yeah, like the visuals and everything looks really good. I mean, I cranked it all the way up on my GTX 770, so I didn't have any problems running it, even when like things super hectic. So
it's a good time about Dragon Ball game that's not complete garbage for once.
I mean, they've always been fine, but it's just they haven't done anything new. That was always the problem. Is that it's a fighting game. It's a fighting game. It's a fighting game. And I'm actually just before I got here, like literally 5 minutes before I jumped in, I was reading an article called 5 Things Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse does that shames AAA development. And it was a Paste Magazine article. It's talking about things like how, we just talked about the female characters now have different stats, but he pointed out that no matter how hard you try, you cannot over-sexualize the female characters in the game. Like, there's no way to make them, like, half-naked or wear, like, really slutty clothes or anything. Like, they look like badass women no matter what you do. Which is interesting to think about.
Yeah, because, I mean, not that I've played around with it, but I mean, like, my own character, where it's like, what if I just take off all of his equipment? He still has on, like, he could be shirtless, but he also always has, like, this purple spandex and shoes on no matter what you take off of him. So that's always, like, his default. But I like the, like, blue kind of outfit and stuff that I made for him, so...
yeah, apparently with the females, my understanding is that when you strip them down, they don't wear underwear, they wear, like, athletic clothes. So, like, sports bras and, like, athletic shorts. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. Good on you, Dragon Ball Z Xenoverse.
Yeah, that's cool. You would see that shit all the time.
Yeah, I just thought it was really cool, just something like that. I don't know, I'm thinking about getting it, because I'm a Dragon Ball Z fanboy, and I'm like, I could use another good Dragon Ball Z game. Why not?
But I think most people are Dragon Ball Z fans. Like, most people that are at our age group are DBZ fans.
If you're buying this game, you're into it, which... the gameplay is, like, there's some good and bad to this, because it is, for the most part, a brawler, to where you're kind of using this Tenkaichi-esque fighting engine to where the camera is somewhat third person, and then you lock onto a dude and you kind of fight from there.
I know I'm alone in this, but I really didn't like Tenkaichi.
Neither did I.
I played the second one on the Wii, and being like, God, like maybe 13 at the time, if that, I was pretty stoked about doing the motions for the moves, but other than that, no.
For me, it basically ended at Budokai 3 for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ones that remastered for the PS3. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Budokai 3 is actually a pretty solid fighting game.
Yeah, it is.
It's the best one they've ever made.
Yeah. But I mean, like, even compared to, like, all fighting games ever, like, it's actually pretty solid. It's not just a good DBZ game, it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, like, it's fun.
Yeah.
But it kind of uses the kind of third-person-esque fighting engine to where you lock on a dude. But the thing with this game is you could have multiple dudes in the same area, and God help you if two of them decide to start beating up on you. I mean, I haven't seen it become too much of a problem. Generally, I'll only have, like, one dude come at me. There will be some times when I've had two of them attack me a few times. But you always seem to have, like, two other, like, partner characters with you that kind of help out, even though they don't do a good job of helping themselves, which I'll get to in a moment. You know, to kind of briefly sum this up, like, I've been playing it. There are a good number of side missions in this. I can't help but feel like it is a joke that the game refers to the side missions as parallel quests. Think about that for a minute.
I don't get it.
Okay, do you know what the term parallel means?
Yes.
Yeah, like, they call them parallel quests instead of side missions.
Oh.
Yeah.
I bet some guy's patting himself on the back right now.
Yeah, this is probably the smartest joke we've made on this show.
Parallel podcasting.
Yeah, some of that stuff, I can't help but feel like you really need to do that stuff, mostly because you will need to grind your dude a bit to gain more experience to level up your stats, because if you just try to mainline...
Are you good at grinding dudes?
Yes. If you just try to mainline the story, the level spikes are really noticeable, and you will find yourself having a hard time really fast, unless you do the side missions to get some extra XP, which I felt was kind of a bummer. But all the missions, and that's the other thing with this game, is that, yes, all the missions are the same. Go here, beat these guys up. Go here, beat these guys up. Go here, beat these... that's pretty much it.
One of them is named Raspberry.
It's true.
Yes. And Apule and whatever.
Apule.
Yeah.
There really is... I'm not... Anyway.
Apule.
At some point, they just don't even care.
Episode
like I said,
2, his name is Apule.
Yeah, and like I said, this game is repetitive, and it is basically fighting. And if you are into button mashing, then here you go. I mean, and the controllers are really simple, which I like because it's like your jump button, which allows you to fly. You have normal attack and heavy attack. You have a button just for shooting projectiles, and if you want to do like super moves or ultimate finishers and stuff, it basically just boils down to hold down one of the triggers and push a face button, or hold down both the triggers and push face button to do stuff. And you can like teleport behind dudes if you have enough stamina. If like you can teleport mid combo behind a guy and just start wailing on him. I think fighting against the NPCs is okay, but I actually did a one-on-one fight with a friend of mine. I didn't think that was that great because, like I said, the combat is really button mashy, and I just kind of feel like this is something where it's not. And I could be wrong. There might be people who have already figured out the tactics better than I can, but it just really felt like who can mash the buttons more, or who can teleport more, and who can get out of the way of like projectile beam attacks and stuff better. So fighting one-on-one, I think, is kind of a bummer. I think the real fun of this is, like, you know, you can do cooperative play with friends and story modes and stuff. I think that's cool. So I would enjoy doing that. But one mission in particular, and this is where I'm stuck on, to kind of wrap this up, is that there's a mission where you have Krillin and Gohan with you as you're on Captain Ginyu's ship and whatnot. But the thing that sucks, the objective is you have to take out 20 dudes. 20 guys. You have to beat up. Yeah, you have to beat up that many guys, and they go down kind of. It takes a little bit to get them to go down. And the thing is, you have to watch Krillin and Gohan's back because they do a shit job of taking care of themselves. And I failed that mission like 3 or 4 times.
Everyone loves escort missions.
Yeah, I failed that mission 3 or 4 times because one of them died, and I had to start all over. And I was like, oh my god.
You know what you should do, Chris?
What?
We should play it together. I got you.
We should.
I got
You know what? I love the idea of, like, your best friend Gohan dying, and then your original character not still going, fuck you, Gohan, why did you die again?
Why you gotta keep dying like that?
I fucking said that to my screen, because that, you know, I mean, the other alternative is, well, do more side missions and gain some more XP, because you can grind the shit out of those. And you can also replay, like, previous story missions and stuff, too, if you want, but it's just, yeah. But for people, like, the other thing I like about this is that, you know, there are all kinds of secret items if you look for them. Like, you have a scouter, and you can look for hidden items with it, and, like, you can actually find the Dragon Balls and make a wish, which I don't know what all that entails, but I'm still going to keep playing this game and probably, you know, maybe finish it. So that was one thing I did. And the only other thing really of note was I watched the first episode of the PlayStation original Powers.
How is that?
You told us to watch it, and then I didn't.
That's okay. You can watch it anytime.
I was going to like have a viewing party where we were all going to like sign up on Skype together and watch it, but
yeah, but
Chris
it's
has
on
no time
demand.
for us.
Yeah. It's on demand. You can watch whenever you want. So right, one thing off the bat, this is the first time I've ever watched like a show like this that was only available like, because I don't have Netflix, but you know I have a PSN Plus account, which is kind of, that's another little bonus for having PS Plus, is that you can just watch the whole season for free whenever they put the episodes up. Whereas if you don't have PS Plus, I guess you gotta buy them or something. I don't know. But it's this basic thing of like.
I think it might be a PS Plus exclusive.
I don't think it is. I think
quote me on that.
For what, Powers?
I think like.
Yeah.
I think it's exclusive. Last I saw.
I think
maybe
you
like
can,
the first episode isn't, or something like that.
Yeah, but like, because later episodes, either they would charge you to watch it if you don't have PS Plus, but if you do have PS Plus, then you can watch the whole season whenever they put them up. So for nothing, it's a no added cost.
So what is the premise of Powers?
So Powers is based off of a comic book series that basically it is a world where people and superhumans exist. So it's just like an everyday thing.
People exist?
Well, yes. Brandon, you know what? Just let me lay this out for you then. Then we can...
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
So yeah, but like superpowered individuals exist, and it's just kind of a part of a daily life of people and everything. You know, superheroes as well as people who aren't so nice and have superpowers. So obviously you've got your assholes out there too.
Bioterrorists.
And the show revolves around Christian Walker, who is a detective. Formerly, he was a superhero named Diamond, but he had his powers stolen. Now he's a normal dude that works as a cop, and he's a homicide detective working for the Powers Division of the LAPD. Now, it's worth noting, Garrett, you might like this.
Okay.
Christian Walker, so the character Christian Walker, he's played by Sharlto Copley, whom, from what I'm seeing here, he's been in every Neil Blomkamp movie so far.
Yes, he has.
He was the voice, and more recently, he was the voice of Chappie.
Which was a meh movie.
That's
unfortunately, yeah. But he was also in like District 9 and Elysium. He was also in that stupid remake of Old Boy, but nobody cares about that. But so Sharlto Copley, he plays Christian Walker, and he's really good in this. I think. I
think he's really good in a lot, like in everything he does.
Yeah, he seems like. I mean, I haven't seen him in too much stuff, but he's really good in this. Like, I really buy his character, that because the unfortunate thing about him is that, like he says, he is a normal person, but he used to have superpowers. He used to be a superhero, and he had his powers stolen, and we see him, struggling with. Because it's like he kind of, in this episode in particular, he's preaching to this girl about, it's not always great being a superhero, and why when you fuck up, you have to live with that. Because it's like everybody dreams of being a superhero and saving the day all the time, but, there are times you don't save the day. Then it's just a mistake that you regret all your life. I thought that was really cool.
It's interesting.
It brings up some interesting stuff, and probably the other way I would describe this show is that it's like Heroes, but it's not as fucking boring. Because Heroes, there are a lot of... I tried to watch Heroes. I'm sorry. That show just doesn't hold my attention.
I heard it also fell apart really bad towards the end.
Yeah.
That's what I heard, too.
I saw that final season. Ugh. Like, they're bringing it back, and I don't care. Powers kind of holds my attention because I love the fact they don't shy away from the idea of, it's not trying to be this whole grounded in reality bullshit. It kind of is, but not entirely to the point where they're not afraid to have dudes in colorful outfits and crazy-ass names. Because, like I said, Sharlto Copley's character, he used to be a superhero, and his superhero name was Diamond. And he had, he was decked out in the costume, the mask, and everything. And I love the one conversation he has with this chick who is, his new partner, because his old one, unfortunately, dies. And she asks him about all the stuff. She's like, "You look different without your mask on and everything." He's like, "That was the idea. The neighbors never suspected a thing." It's cool. Some of the conversation he has has like that. Some of the other characters, like the fact that Eddie Izzard, who was a British comedian, he plays this one supervillain called Wolf, whom is really fucking crazy. And also because of the fact that this is something that is exclusively streamed on PlayStation Network, they could say words like fucking shit, like you can't say on network TV. So
that's what I've always wanted to say.
Yeah, because it's funny how it's they let other people fuck with it. Well, around here, we don't just wait for the heroes to do stuff. We have to fuck with it. I'm liking this. And yeah, it's really interesting, the world that they make. And I love the fact how Sharlto Copley at one point, he sees just these two random costumed individuals flying in midair, shooting energy blasts at each other, and he wants to go do something, and he almost jumps off his balcony, but it's just part of that thing of his character. He sometimes forgets he doesn't have his powers, and before he can go do anything, a superhero just kind of shows up. And I love the fact they don't shy away from that stuff. It's basically like if a Saturday morning cartoon was really happening. So yeah, this show was holding my attention. This was...
I might go see it then.
Yeah.
It's a really good comic series. I've only read the first collection, the graphic novel. But it's really good
too, just to see how these compare. I mean, it's on demand, so if you have PlayStation Plus, you can watch it. Well, even if you don't have PlayStation Plus, if you have a PS device, whether PS4, hell, even Vita, I think, if you can watch it on there.
Sure.
Maybe.
I
don't know. I watched it on my PS3, and so
if you have my PS4.
Yeah, PS3, PS4, you can watch it on there and just look it up. It's I think they're going to put episodes out every Tuesday, so that's the thing. But it's on demand, so you can watch it whenever you want. Like, even if you miss it, it's like, or if you want to play catch up, it's like, there you go. It's I kind of love how Sony has like their whole. Some funny things was that, you know, you get that whole, like, the intro to the show, it's like, a PlayStation original presents. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. But also the fact, like, there are some scenes where, like, this girl pulls out a smartphone. You see the obvious Sony phone that she's using.
Xperia Z.
Sponsors.
And I'm sure they all have Sony Vio laptops.
Yeah, in a world...
they're using PlayStation Mobile to pass the time.
Yep, in a world where Samsung doesn't make phones. Everybody's got Sony hardware. I thought that was kind of... But no, it was kind of interesting to watch, and I thought it was kind of fun. So, you know, there is some dark and fucked up shit that happens. They don't really do anything as far as nudity. Like, there was one scene where, like, Eddie Izzard, because, like I said, he's a supervillain that is, like, imprisoned in, like, this special facility, and, like, he was straight up naked. Like, there were 2 shots where, like, his ass is just right there, but... Just
what I always needed.
Yeah, if you want to see Eddie Izzard naked, here you go. But it's not like you see, like, boobs or anything or something like that. But, well, like I said, it's cool that they don't have to worry about language in the show, so... I thought it was worth watching.
All right, so is there anything else you did this week?
Nope, that's all really worth mentioning. So.
All right. So who wants to go next?
I guess I can go.
All right.
I got. We did the podcast, and then after we did the podcast, I woke up the next. I was like, "Hey guys, I've been drinking a little bit," and you guys were like, "Yeah, it's okay." And then I woke up the next morning, and I was very, very sick.
You know what? Like a cold or something?
No, I was vomiting.
Ooh.
Every time. And then when I wasn't vomiting, I was feeling like I needed to vomit, and then I would finally there'd be nothing left to vomit, so I'd just be dry heaving.
Oh, don't you hate that? That's like the worst.
I've had those kinds of sicknesses.
Oh, it was terrible. It was like a stomach bug, and the day before, like when we did the podcast, I was talking about stuff I had done. I'd eaten a raw steak, and they're like, maybe it's that. And I was like, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe, possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. They were like, well, we all had steak. We didn't get sick. I was like, I don't know. You guys didn't have mine. I think I said, like, my stepdad looked at it and went, oh, cool, sushi? He's like, I didn't know they said sushi. Like, oh, it's not. I'm like, nah, I think sushi. He's like, oh, it looks like it. I'm like, nah, it's not sushi.
It's exactly the same as sushi.
Just tell him no, steak tartare, bitch.
I think I said that phrase several times when we were talking about this off the air.
Steak tartare?
Yes.
Yep.
Chris and I are culinary experts. I thought you guys might want to be aware of that. We're both world-class chefs.
Yep, totally.
But yeah, so I did that. I got sick, and so I spent the entire day in bed watching movies, and I watched Lady in the Water, which I want to kind of talk about, but at the same time, it's not really much news, so I don't know if I should.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
All right. Iron Giant, which is fantastic. I love that
Of course.
movie.
Oh, yeah.
Iron Giant's great.
I am Superman.
I am not a gun.
Now,
God, the movie's great. But, so other than, watched Iron Giant, I guess I'll talk about I watched Lady in the Water. I watched Running Scared, the 2009 movie, which is in 6th place. It's in 6th place in the world for having... Okay, there's a list of movies that have the words fuck in it the most. This has the word fuck in it the most. It's in 6th place for having the word fuck in it.
What's number 1?
That's how many times it has the word fuck 316 times in an hour and a half.
Nice.
Some of the lines are something
There's
like...
someone who gives a lot of fucks.
Yeah. Some of the lines are like, I'll fucking kill you, you fucking stupid motherfucker, fuck you, or some shit like those are lines from the movie. I'm like, damn, dude. But yeah, so there, yeah, I think I actually saw online someone made a fucking short version of it. but the video though is like 5 minutes long, so it's like I think it's actually averaged at 2.5 fucks a minute. It's like, okay, but yeah, so I watched Running Scared, I watched Lady in the Water, I watched Iron Giant, and I watched Django Unchained, and I think there was one more.
Okay, so I have to ask you this. Wasn't Django Unchained the one where you saw Jamie Foxx's dick?
Yes.
I knew it!
Yes,
People...
yeah.
People disputed me on that. So...
Yes, and those very common Jamie Foxx dick conversations that you tend to be having.
People just kept saying...
He does
like, nope,
find dudes very well.
Brandon, will you stop making me want to sigh? Just...
But yeah, so I was watching those, and yeah, a thing about Lady in the Water real quick. That movie gets a lot of hate.
Well,
You're explaining what Lady in the Water is? Oh, Shyamalan.
Yeah,
Lady in the Water. It's an M. Night Shyamalan film. It's got Paul Giamatti in it, and I can't remember the main actress's name. But everybody in this movie gives a really good performance, which is kind of rare for... if you look at Signs, which is another M. Night Shyamalan film that I really like, which that film has a lot more stupid... Like, I love Signs. That film has a lot more stupid stuff in it. And people are like, oh, it's a great movie. But then you have Lady in the Water, and people are like, it's too weird.
Shyamalan has been dragged through the mud for the past couple of years.
People are like, yeah, Lady in the Water sucks. I love Devil, though. It's like, why do you like Devil? It's like, it's bad, but it's funny. It's like, no, it just sucks. Devil honestly sucks. Lady in the Water is a good movie.
That's the one where they're on the elevator?
Yeah.
I
saw it.
And Satan is... Yeah, it sucks. Honestly... Okay, Sam, do you remember at the very beginning when that guy jumps off the building?
And Devil?
And there's there's the janitor, and he has his headphones on, so we don't hear anything. It's just the janitor.
Yeah.
And then in the background, that guy like falls out of the building and lands on a truck and crushes it.
What a twist!
Everybody like it's the opening of the movie. It's a janitor in the lobby like mopping or some shit.
Yeah, I remember talking
music
about.
And dancing. Yeah, and then some guy in the background just falls on a truck and dies because he killed himself. And everyone in the audience fucking... It's supposed to be like this big jump scare, and every single person in the audience burst out laughing.
Sounds about right.
I was
the exact emotion M. Night Shyamalan was going for.
I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking great.
I would have loved to have been in the theater for that.
It was amazing. Jelly side down! Jelly side down! The devil is in the building because the bread fell with the jelly side down. I'm like, shut up.
Is that
that's an actual line from that film.
I remember hearing about that.
I heard that. I was like, is that an actual thing that people believed at one point?
He thinks bad things happen, so he gets a piece of toast and puts jelly on it and throws it in the air, and it lands jelly side down, and ew, that's gross. So he goes, obviously the Satan is here. It's like, I want you to shut up.
I'm just asking, like, if in the real world, is that like an actual like test that someone has done?
Oh, it could very well have been.
I guarantee you, people are stupid, so probably. But
that doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Some stupid person might be like, I got a bad egg in my carton. Thanks God for protecting me from Satan. It's like, fucking shut up.
We have a Yahoo Answers that says, my toast landed jelly side down. Is this a sign that I am the devil?
Sam, I think you should know better than to go to Yahoo Answers for anything.
I will say that
Considering
Yahoo
in great
Answers.
depth the significant factors relating to your sad fate of affairs, considering the toast, my guess would be you indeed might be in deep trouble with God. Very serious
If
Christian
you
ecologist.
want to have a good laugh, you should follow YahooAnswers.txt on Twitter.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
It is the best thing you will ever do.
There's a book called Why Toast Lands Jelly Slide Down, Zen and the Art of Physics Demonstrations.
They test this on MythBusters. It's 50-50, approximately.
Yeah, but yeah.
You chance Satan was there.
The only reason Butterside Down lands more often is that when you picking up, you usually pick it up, and then it flips once in the air when you drop it.
So what you're saying is I need to get jelly all over my hand.
It's a bad sample. It's always a bad sample.
You're a bad sample.
But yeah, so you've got Devil, you've got, oh god, what was the other one he did? I didn't like The Village.
I mean, now he's most known for Last Airbender.
Yeah, oh my god. Yeah, I'll say most of his movies do suck. But the ones he got right, and those were the earlier ones. I think Lady in the Water was the last one. It was I like Lady in the Water, I like Signs, I like Unbreakable, and I like Sixth Sense, and I think all the rest of them aren't good. But
the Happening, where Mark Wahlberg has to reason with the trees.
Yeah, that happened. I actually kind of liked the premise of that one, but I didn't like the execution. It's like, okay, you are going to die. There's nothing you can do. That's a scary idea. But it's like what
life,
do
man.
you do? How do you survive? Yeah, but yeah, that was a scary idea, but it was executed poorly. I drank the whole bottle of cough syrup. The whole bottle. Where'd the bees go, guys? Yeah, so I watched Lady in the Water, and people fucking rag on that movie all the time. Like, Lady in the Water is stupid and pretentious, and it's broken up and it doesn't make sense. I watched that movie. I loved it. It's not disjointed like people say it is. It's not. It's got great acting. It's got some actually really good writing. It's got M. Night Shyamalan's directing, and when he directs well, he directs well. And this has some really good directing in it. There are a couple times where it'll cut to something, like it'll cut to outside for a few seconds, and nothing happens, and then it cuts back to inside. And I'm like, thanks for letting me get a breath of fresh air, I guess. Can I return to the movie, please? So, it's like, oh yeah, I needed that break. Thank you. It was like weird stuff like that. I guess it's trying to illustrate like the presence of the wolf that is outside, and in the movie there's a wolf that's made of grass, and you can't, when they lay down, they can lay down flat, so they look like a bump in the lawn. You can only see it's really creative. It's original, and I can honestly say there's never been a thing that I've seen like it.
I mean, Metacritic would apparently beg to disagree. Holy crap, some of these reviews. Wall Street Journal gave it a 10 out of 100.
Wow. Yeah, I know. Everyone hates on that movie. It's not a bad movie.
Seems like it's a lot of people like it and a lot of critics hate it, is what it looks like according to this.
You know what? I bet it's because there's a character in the movie
who's a critic.
It's very, very, it's obvious. It's so obvious. There's a critic character in this movie, and M. Night Shyamalan wrote this critic to be the douchiest. Like, he's a fucking asshole. And he's wrong. Like, he'll make points about a movie, and Paul Giamatti's like, well, maybe this is what it means. The critic just goes, no, obviously it doesn't. Like, just stuff like that.
That was the scene that made me decide I just didn't want to watch the film, because that just seems like such a childlike thing to do.
It does, honestly.
You're welcome to like that movie, and I respect your opinion, but that one scene was just like, Shyamalan, get over yourself. I'm sorry people don't like your movies.
Yeah. For the most part, I was like, the critic's a douche, but at the same time, I was listening to him, and I go, yeah, I agree with his point. Like, he makes a point. He's like, I saw a movie, and Paul Giamatti's like, how was it? He goes, oh, it sucked. And Paul Giamatti's like, oh, that sucks. He goes, yeah, everyone was like speaking their thoughts out loud, and of course, it's cliched because at the end, like they make up in the rain. He's like, who does that? I'm like, that's a good point. Like it's something that bothers. Like, it's you see a movie and you're like, why would they be speaking that right now? Maybe it's nitpicking, but I've seen myself doing that at movies. So I agreed with the character. until his last scene. That's when he encounters the wolf, because then he does the he's speaking out loud thing, and he's like, of course, this, in a film where there has not been any nudity or language or any, or violence, I'm going to live, and I will have later on a line. I'm like, this is so meta and so stupid.
It's really hard to do meta, like, humor or meta dialogue or anything.
You have to be very careful, because otherwise it becomes pretentious.
Yeah, that line, like, that scene sucked. That was the one scene that I hate in that movie. Every other scene I actually really liked in that movie. And, so yeah, I bet critics don't like it because the critic character.
I don't know. I could read some reviews. I'm sure there are problems with it, but it's subjective as all hell, because that's movies for you.
Yeah, but,
So,
as somebody who could kind of identify with the critic character and how I look at movies and stuff, the only scene I hated with that character was how he was his last scene. His last scene is so stupid. But other than that, everything's fine about it. And he's actually right, because Paul Giamatti goes to him. He says, okay, look, you're a critic, you watch movies, you analyze things. Got a question. If I'm looking for these specific kinds of characters, what are signs I would look for? And he tells him the correct ones. Spoiler, Paul Giamatti just accidentally picks the wrong ones, because it's like, the critic is like, I want you to, you would want to find, okay, you're looking for a guild? He's like, find a group of people that are always around each other talking. And he does. He finds the stoner guys who are always around talking, when really it's supposed to be the Spanish guy's sisters. But either way, he gives him the right advice, and then they're like, oh, he gave us the wrong advice. And one character's like, who would be so arrogant to pretend he knows? And then it comes to the critic. It's like, shut up.
It's the whole thing of, like, when a critic means this, but, like, some people might think something in a movie means something else. Sometimes there's really only so far you can go with that. Even movies that both critics and people would agree is shit, you can't find, like, a meaning to where, like, maybe it's supposed to mean, nope, it's just shit. Like that movie's Winter's Tale, which one of these days I have to watch just to witness how fucking stupid it is. Like,
yeah, well, yeah. So that whole critic character, I as soon as I saw him, I was like, okay, he's a slap on the wrist to critics everywhere. And then that last scene, I was like, okay, that was stupid. But other than that, people are saying it's disjointed. I don't see that. Really, I won't say like it's not there, because it might be, and I just might not be seeing it. But I personally don't see that. They're like, it's disjointed. I'm like, is it? I don't think so. Some people were saying it was too weird. I see it as an extremely creative original film. People are always bitching, complaining, like, we don't have any original works. Then one comes along, like, it's too weird. It's like, what the fuck do you want? Do you want it to be original, or you want it to be just the same shit over and over again? So, I don't know. And I think the acting is great. Everyone does a really good job. And M. Night Shyamalan plays a character in the movie, and he's a writer. And I'm gonna kind of spoil this. He's a writer of a book that's kind of an anthology of, like, ideas that this character has about how things should be run, and things that he would change, and stuff like that. It's basically how he views the world. And the main girl, Story, she's the scene nymph, tells him, this is important. This book is going to inspire a lot of people, and it's going to anger a lot of other people.
Oh, my God.
In the end, what's going to happen is there's going to be a kid who reads your book and is super inspired, and he is going to make the world a better place. He says, okay, and then he thinks about it later and goes, I started thinking, why doesn't the kid come meet me? You never said he comes to meet me, and I always figured I'm just kind of a normal guy, and I'm not really important. So why would my book have all these words? And then he thinks about it and goes, is someone going to kill me because I write this book? And she goes, yes. And so he has to think about that. And of course, like, the sister comes in and they make a joke, and he's trying to hide back tears. And when she leaves, he goes, don't tell my sister. So, like, he's got to finish this book. He's going to sacrifice himself for people, but he almost doesn't do that. He almost doesn't even finish writing the book because he doesn't want to die. And I was like, that's a really good moment. And I know you went, oh my God, you think it's pretentious. I liked it.
it does sound a little pretentious to me. I'm not gonna lie. It's because it's the director in his own movie basically saying that he's gonna write something that's gonna change the world.
Yeah.
That
I
is
know.
almost by definition pretentious.
And I won't lie, I did think that, but I was like, I don't know. I see his movies, like Sign and stuff like that. Like when I wanted to go.
They're not world changing, even if they're good.
They're not, but I do see that. I think they can inspire people. He's probably gotten like quite a number of emails saying like, you inspired me like in a directorial sense. Like, this is how I want to make these kinds of movies and stuff like that. I don't think they're world changing at all, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe Sixth Sense. I don't know if he wrote that. The Sixth Sense wasn't world changing, but it did change the convention of the plot twist. Well, Fight Club as well.
And Shyamalan never recovered from that.
Yeah, Shyamalan never recovered from that.
No.
But yeah, so Lady in the Water, I think it's okay, but apparently that everyone else thinks the movie's shit, and I don't know why. Except for the
I might watch it sometime.
It's not bad. After talking about it, I'm like, but it's not bad. Every time I watch it, I love it. So, and like I said, the acting is so fucking good. And every time I see an M. Night Shyamalan film, I always think like, this is how I'd want to direct my movie. At least like where the camera goes and stuff like that. Not with the acting, but like Signs. I see Signs, and I thought if I made a movie, like a first movie, I would want it to be Signs. For some reason, that movie is the kind of movie I would want to make. I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, I'm done. So yeah, I got sick, and yeah.
So Sam, do you want to go next, or should I?
I can go. I'm drinking
Sure.
Diet Coke. Does this have caffeine?
Go ahead.
This has caffeine in it. Awesome.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so first off, just because I remember this, I talked about it off the podcast with Brandon while we were recording Interactive Friction Season 2, which is starting on Monday, and you should watch that. I talked about how I finished Infamous Second Son.
Yep.
Which the last time we podcasted earlier this week, I was about done. I did not realize how incredibly short that game is, surprisingly.
It is. You can do it in a weekend.
Yeah, like it's the main campaign's like maybe 6 hours or something insane, or maybe it's like 8.
And it's like 9 if you do all the side content.
Yeah. So this is interesting. So I'm trying to think of how to talk about my feelings about the ending without spoiling anything.
I say just go whole hog. We'll mark it as a spoiler.
Okay.
Yeah, fuck it.
And that game kind of sucks. That game kind of sucks. Just
the game as a whole kind of just like, yeah.
It's so I'm trying to figure out how to like reiterate what I was talking to Brandon about. But the main problem with that kind of series is that it's just boring, which is weird for a superhero game.
It's archaic.
Yeah, it's like the karma system is really, really, really dated with its super binary choices.
You used to defend that a lot, like when in Infamous 1 and 2, Chris, but I mean, like, it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and the thing is, yeah, even when I think about it, as far as having moral choice systems for like how you want your, like, do I want to be the hero or do I want to be the asshole? Like, it doesn't really matter. The character should just, you should just be the character. Let the character be written well for once.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Going.
If you're gonna have like player choices like that, especially in a game that involves superpowers, why not make the player decide, you know, what superpowers do I want? You know, like that. I don't think that'd be a bad idea.
The problem with characters with moral choice systems is that the protagonist, as a result, is not allowed to have a character.
No, he's
because whatever character you give him must be compatible with both him being Mother Teresa and him being a baby eater.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and the other thing is that even when he does have some semblance of character, it oftentimes conflicts depending on which side you choose. Like the idea that Delson's kind of a prick sometimes, which is weird when you choose all the good choices and he still kind of acts like a snarky asshole because that is the character they gave him. So even when they try to write a character, they're just kind of boxed in.
I like his brother so much more than I do him.
Yeah, I think that even just from the perspective of like, you know, it's really weird to say, but the idea of the standard superhero story has gotten boring. So, like, you know, that's why Powers sounds really interesting to me that Chris talked about earlier. And the idea of, like, Reggie as the character who is the brother of one of the Powers is pretty interesting. Just because of the fact that he has to balance out, like, well, I'm a cop and I have a duty to, you know, help these people. And it's like, and then he has to figure out whether he considers the conduits actual people or not, which is ultimately what he arrives to when
also
he saves everybody.
With his brother, who may be a potential menace to society or a really good person, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah. But just...
And it kind of bums me out, considering, you know, I was one of those people. I loved those Infamous games. Like, I played those things to completion.
Yeah, those games are awesome.
Gladly.
I mean, like, if you're a fan of the Infamous franchise and you like those mechanics, you'll like the game.
I mean,
it's a fine game, but...
Yeah, Second Son sounds like I probably wouldn't be too bothered, you know, waiting for this to have, like, a price drop.
I mean, I got it for free with my PS4.
Oh, okay.
So I bought it from Amazon. They gave
and
me that
I bought
in
it for,
Killzone.
like... I think I bought it for, like, either $30 or $20.
Yeah. But I haven't played First Light yet. I'm waiting for somebody to come through the bank. But when I do, Brandon basically expressed the idea that, much like with Festival of Blood, the Infamous games are actually better off without the karma system because they allow the people to have actual character.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Like, since Fetch doesn't have to be either good Fetch, evil Fetch, she's allowed to have the character of Fetch.
Yes.
That's what she is.
Which, you know, just that the problem with that karma system is that it basically says that people are either wholly good or wholly evil, whereas a real person is, you know, very much conflicted at any given moment in their whole life. Plus the idea that, like, Delson kind of has a non-backstory. Like, his is just super simple. Like, I just want to save my people. It's like, yeah, I guess, but I've expected more. Whereas Fetch has, like, this much more complicated backstory about how she ran away from home because her parents tried to turn her into a conduit, and her brother took her away, was safeguarding her, and they got into drugs, and the drugs ultimately made her actually kill her own brother. And it
On
was
accident.
Like, yeah.
Jeez.
And I was like, that's, like, fucking interesting. Let's talk more about that. And then it never really does. Like, the sad part about finishing the game is that you realize, like, I'm kind of glad First Light exists just because Fetch doesn't really get much of anything to do in the main game. Like, she shows up at the end.
Although her power set's easily the best of, like, the four.
Yeah. And then there's fucking Eugene, who is...
I hate Eugene so much.
I have no idea how that character was created, and nobody looked at that and went, wow, this is horribly offensive and dumb all at the same time.
He is the typical D&D nerd, except you gave typical D&D nerd the ability to reject hard light holograms.
Yeah, like, he is straight up, wears hoodies, has huge rimmed glasses, gets picked on by high school bullies, gets really angry about it, plays video games all the time.
And then shoots video out of his hands.
Yeah, also he shoots video, which is dumb. But it's so weird when you think about that. And then I think, like, the other problem I brought up, which I don't remember if this was on the podcast or when I talked to Brandon, just to...
It was with me.
You don't even know what I was going to say. I wasn't talking about Eugene. I meant the idea of, like, with the powers, how at some point the series... I think I did talk about this podcast, how, like, at least with electricity, it made some kind of weird superhero scientific sense about the idea of coursing electricity through your body. But this one, it's like, how do you shoot fucking video out of your hands? It's like, what in video are you absorbing? It's like, you're not absorbing the electricity of video. It's like, at least neon is a chemical.
Presumably you're, like, absorbing the signals, because you can absorb video off of satellite dishes as well.
Yes, but, like, if I'm not mistaken, isn't neon a chemical, and that's why it glows?
It's an element.
It's gas.
It's an element, yeah. Neon
so, like,
gas.
you can absorb that. Like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, what is video? That's such, like, an intangible thing.
Like,
And
the
then
other...
concrete's kind of weird just because it's, like, it's a man-made, you know, piece of...
Well, it's similar to the conduit that shoots paper in the...
I know. Like, we had discussed this once, like the last time when Brandon was talking about the Lightbringer, when, like, or whatever it's called. Like, yeah, we were like, if the stuff is, like, man-made, and then of course I got onto poop conduits, but I don't know.
And the video grenades.
Yeah. But I don't know, that one always just struck me, because it's like, concrete, I kind of get it, because, like, you can touch concrete, and you can touch neon gas, well, you know, you can see it or whatever. And, you know, even with paper, at least that's something you can touch. But then it's, like, video is just, continues to blow my mind every time I use it in game. Where it's like, what the fuck is video? Like, that just feels like they shoehorned it in to have the character of Eugene. In which case, they should have cut that out in the first place.
The power of D&D.
Because, oh my god, it's so bad. Like, even his redemption is so bad. Oh my God.
Just to kind of tangent a bit, like speaking about like the idea of like the scientific explanations of like how characters with certain superpowers would work. I remember hearing something once about how fucked up and awesome Iceman from the X-Men really is, because okay, when we think about a character that like, you know, shoots ice or something, or hell, if you want to relate this back to fucking Infamous, you know, that one female character from Infamous 2. Yeah. Like she could control ice and everything. Well, what is ice, really?
Frozen water.
Yeah, you're taking frozen water and stuff and you're freezing it. And really what you're doing, what ice is like if you have the ability to freeze something, you're manipulating the energy of it and the properties of something. If you could take that to a farther extreme, you could do all kinds of crazy shit. And the reason that I brought that up was, like, this was something I heard on a Best Friend video once, where it was like, at one point, White Queen in the X-Men comics, this is canon, like, she takes control of Iceman's body, and she's able to manipulate his powers to the point where, because it's like, Iceman, all he knows how to do is make ice with stuff. But, like, she knows, like, what his power really is, and that's being able to manipulate the energy and the temperature of stuff. And she was just able to do all kinds of crazy shit.
Theoretically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you think about, like, what ice really is, what happens when something really freezes, and, like, if you knew somebody that could actually manipulate the properties of stuff like that, you could do all kinds of crazy shit, and that's what she does in the comic. And then, like, when she releases control of him, Iceman's like, how'd you do that? Like, how did I do that? And she's like, no, I'm not going to tell you. Get good, idiot. Like,
she gave him a copy of Dark Souls.
Oh, man.
There was one more criticism you had when we were having a conversation about Infamous Second Light. I can't remember exactly what it was.
Let's see. Eugene sucks ass. Game's mediocre. Reggie's brother's more interesting to Delson. Or Reggie's brother. The brother is Reggie. The powers... I remember mentioning the environment offhand, how I just didn't think it was that great. Oh, if you mean the plot hole at the very end. What I was talking about, yeah. So, major spoilers here. You know, refer to Brandon's annotations.
Oh, yeah,
skip
that's
it.
right.
This is the very end of the game. So you get to a point in, where you're fighting the final boss, and like the whole idea is that she was like, I kept them in this place because they're safer there. If I leave them outside, everybody's just gonna kill them. And I was like, okay, like I get that, even though I think that's a stupid villain trope. The idea that I think what's best for everyone.
She spreads the fear of conduits in order to protect people from the fear of conduits.
Yeah. But the thing that really killed me was that when you finished the game, and I was like, but you never explained why you torture all these people that you're supposed to be keeping safe.
Yep.
But apparently Brandon has told me that supposedly she only tortured the ones that she purposely let go in order to make them angry, to scare people. Which, I don't know, like, they never seem to, like, kill anybody from what I remember. I don't think...
Hank strictly has a no-kill policy whenever he uses his powers, and the other two, and Fetch only kills drug dealers.
Yeah, but it's not like they just went on like rampant crime sprees. It was just kind of like...
And Eugene's a creep, so don't worry about him.
Eugene just... his fucking redemption is so dumb, because he doesn't even, like, use his powers himself. He just creates, like, a Cypher angel character that he shoots out. Like, just a persona.
I believe he actually, like, that he's in that, like, projection.
I don't know. It sucks, whatever it is. But yeah, it's, I don't know, just top to bottom, that game was just so mediocre, it just hurt me. But it's one of those things where I think Infamous has a lot of potential. I told Brandon that, as far as the series goes, and I believe I mentioned this last week too, but just to reiterate a bit for Chris, I think that the series would be a lot better off if instead of doing full-length $60 games, it would all be like Festival of Blood or First Light, where it's like, here's a hero, here's their specific power, here's a small story, like a one-shot comic book style. Of like, here's a quick narrative arc, no moral system or anything.
The stuff they added in Festival of Blood, like for the vampire powers, that was really cool.
Yeah. But I just like the idea of, like, you know, what if Infamous 1 was just kind of like, maybe like 2 episodes or something like that. You know, like, I don't feel like the games need to be as long as they were. And it's like, and then you can have one episode for the Ice Girl, one episode for the Fire Girl from Infamous 2. And then Fetch gets her episode.
It's not fire, it's oil.
Oh, fucking... God damn it. And then, you know, like, you know, Fetch gets her episode, and fuck Delson, he doesn't get an episode because his power's dumb. Because his power is the Mary Sue power of my power is all power.
like I said, conduits all have the ability to absorb one thing. The thing with Delson is that his power is to absorb other people's powers.
So dumb. But can you imagine the idea of, like, what if Infamous Second Son was First Light, and then they had an episode for Hank and an episode for Eugene instead?
Yeah.
And then it's all about, like, the three of them coming together to stop Augustine?
Yes, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Like,
and then you could end with a playable Augustine for, like, if you want to use the concrete powers in the world.
And I just think that'd be cool, because it'd be almost like what Marvel's doing with their Avengers movie setup of, like, here's all these stories, and then you get one where they all combine together, and, like, I don't know, for the comic book style that they're going for, I think that would work better. Plus, I just like the idea of a smaller scale story, no moral system, just quick narrative arcs. Maybe that's just the way I like games these days. I'm kind of getting tired of the full $60 thing.
I mean, I would say this much. I mean, I would hope that they wouldn't do, like, episodic stuff for the sake of doing so, like fucking Resident Evil Revelations 2.
But if they were all, like, First Light, you know, if they were all, like, here's a whole story in a standalone game.
And taking into account of everyone, they form even a super story on top of that.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, I just think that'd be really cool if you just had, like, one for Hank, Eugene, and there's already one for Fetch, and they were all of that quality, all standalone. But then it's like, here's this last one that's like, you know, if you played all of those, here's the conclusion to their stories that they build up to. Again, it's sort of like the Avengers sort of deal.
It wouldn't be bad.
And even if you didn't do that, it's just, here's 3 conduit stories in this one city. Like, that's fine. But it's just Infamous, I feel like, needs just a whole restructuring at this point. Like, the morality system is complete garbage by today's standards.
Yeah.
And I feel like the powers, I remember expressing this when Brandon in Video Grenades, episode 26, before I played the game, and I still have this problem, where the powers, they have their own unique mobility and, like, slight unique attributes, but I still wish that each power had its completely unique set of moves. Like, only this power can shoot, like, lob grenade style stuff, or, like, this power is all about mobility and melee attacks. Instead, it's like, they all shoot, they all have rockets, and they all have, like, one unique power each.
Yeah, they're all the same moves, but with different properties.
Yeah, it's just kind of a bummer.
So, I think with Second Son, the other thing that, like, you were talking about the morality system, but I think it's even, like, worse in Second Son, because there are some actions that just don't make any sense for them to be marked as either good or evil, like the spray paint you were talking about.
Right.
In our conversation.
That's almost like a joke of, like, the morality system.
Yeah.
Of, like,
where you were good if you use blue spray paint, and if you use the red can, it's evil. But either way, you're still defacing public property.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the images, I'm guessing, are different. My understanding is that the base image that you paint is the same, and then the stuff that he paints without your control is different.
Yes, that is the entire gist of it. And even, like, with choosing to redeem or corrupt, you're still letting a dangerous criminal walk free, regardless of what way you choose to let them go.
Yeah,
so you're not actually making a choice. You're just saying, I'm going to be good or evil to this person.
And it's, I believe this was the podcast too, but Chris, we talked about the idea of when you redeem Fetch, there's such a ridiculously dumb moment where instead of killing drug dealers, she subdues them. And then I was like, okay, that's really cool. I like how she changes her actions based on me. And then it does the stupidest thing where Delson out loud says, oh, look at how your actions have changed based on the choice I've made. Like, he says something akin to, like, look at your visible changes based on what I did to you. Like, something like that.
And there's another
and it's
scene.
Like, and she's like, I didn't change at all. He's like, no, like, you completely changed based on what I did for you. And I was like, oh my God, do not do that.
Oh.
And there's another scene, like, before you recruit Fetch, you were forced to, in the story, interact with these protesters who think that because there are drugs in the street, people have superpowers.
Yeah.
Just go with it, because it makes no sense even in the story.
Nope.
So you can choose to either do nothing or murder the shit out of all these guys. And if you choose to do nothing, which I did in my playthrough, your brother calls you on the phone and is like, hey, isn't it great that you did nothing to those violent protesters?
Look at how you not murdered them.
And then
because your choices, it's like your choices don't matter unless we constantly remind you of them.
And then Delson goes, yeah, you know what? It's a great thing that I didn't murder those guys today. You know, I think that was a good idea, is not murdering those guys today.
Infamous is, like, the complete poster child for why morality systems, binary moral choices, are bad.
Yep.
because it's just so explicit
I
one
wrote
or the
an
other.
entire article about how stupid that game's karma system was.
Yeah, it's God.
And I didn't even go into all of it.
No.
Yeah. So I guess just like wrap up my thoughts about Second Son. I'll probably write an article about it myself, but the big thing is that it's a shame considering the universe they have built is interesting. It allows for a wide range of possibilities. Again, I really like my idea for like the short stories because I just like the idea of no morality system. Just here is this character, here is their arc. This is what the character, and you can have good characters and bad characters that way. So you can just say like, well, this character's evil. Here's just them just going on a rampage. That is this character's arc. You know, some people, power corrupts them. And you have really good ones, and it's like, yeah, they use their powers for good, and here's how it changes the city that they live in, and things like that. But, I don't know. I'm no game developer. Other than that, I guess the other quick things are Killzone Shadowfall. I just want to make a quick point that if you guys played the older Killzone games, or at least aware of them.
I'm aware of them.
I've at least messed around with all three, if I've only completed one, which was 2.
Yeah, so I'm playing Shadowfall, the new one, and it's this weird thing where up until this point, Killzone has had a pretty cut and dry story of the Hellghast are the worst people on Earth, basically.
Yep.
They attacked your planet first, and then Killzone 2, you attack their planet, and in Killzone 3, you nuke it. You completely destroy their planet. So what's weird is that in Shadowfall, after 3 games of just cut and dry, these guys literally look like Nazis with red eyes and red armbands. And all of a sudden, it tries to introduce like this idea of, no, the Hellghast are really the tortured ones. And you get like all, like the whole crux of the story is like, no, you're the bad guy for doing this. It's like, motherfucker, they attacked us! They tried to blow up our planet. They're the most evil people in the history of video games. And all of a sudden you're trying to like, make them okay?
Especially when, like, Killzone 2, which, if I gave a shit, like, you know, not only that, but, like, even the portable game,
which one?
I forget what it was called.
The PSP or the PS Vita one?
Yeah, PSP.
PSP, Liberation.
Yeah.
Mercenary was the Vita one.
Yeah, which I've heard that was shit. But, the Killzone 2, which is probably the one I remember the most, that was the one I actually played all the way through, and I started playing Killzone 3, but, like, when you have characters who are, like, something out of, like, a fucking Star Wars movie, especially, like, if you go back and look at the cutscenes of Killzone 2, it's exactly like something out of Star Wars, where, like, General Radek is just straight-up Darth Vader. It's so fucking stupid. But at the same time, Radek, I remember him mostly for the fact that he was played by Sean Pertwee, who is an incredible actor, and you know, a little bit of a nerd fact was that Sean Pertwee, he's a British actor who is the son of John Pertwee, who was another British actor back in the 60s and 70s, and he was the third. John Pertwee is best known as the third man to play the Doctor from the long-running series Doctor Who.
And Colonel Radek is also best known as Killzone guy from Sony Smash Bros.
Basically. Radek was a decent character and everything, but the thing is, he is such a fucking Saturday morning cartoon supervillain of, like, you know, he just comes in, does his spiel, and, like, he'll just fucking murder people, you know? Yeah. But still, like, he's acted very well, because the actor behind his voice is really good. I wish you'd see more of him, but still, it's a shooter. Exposition is not a thing that happens often.
It's kind of funny because if you remember in Killzone 2, what was probably the most interesting character was, I believe his name was Chancellor Vasari, the bald guy who did all the propaganda speeches.
Yeah,
I had a friend of mine who got really into those speeches, and he's like, these are like extremely well delivered and trying to make you believe the Hellghast cause. Yeah. And like, you know, it just fell apart after that because in the second one you kill him, and then the third one it's just like, I don't know, random bad guys showed up to take over for the other bad guys. But,
yeah, basically.
I guess just kind of like just to reiterate my point about the weird setup for Shadowfall is that I remember having a moment where you, as Lucas Kane or something like that, I don't know, you have a stupid ass name.
That's the guy from Indigo Prophecy.
Oh my god, they're all the same. He looks like him too.
Oh no!
I think it looks like the same guy too. It's a generic white guy.
I mean, Indigo Prophecy. I am that.
The point being, though, for one, that the main character in Killzone Mercenary makes you want to just throw him off a cliff because he is so incredibly boring as main macho guy.
Yeah.
But the point being is that at one point you go undercover and like you go onto. So when you blow up the planet, you give half of the ISA planet Vecta to the Helghast, and there's just like a giant wall, like Berlin Wall style. So you cross over the wall and you're going undercover. It was an interesting point where like I saw a little bit of humanity in the Helghast because you're going through a checkpoint and you have this guy who's just like, all right, stop. He's like, please hold. And I was like, yeah, Helghast just say please and thank you. Like he just says like, all right, thank you, step through. And it's like, the fuck? He sounds like a normal person. And I was like, are these like all of a sudden giving humanity to the Helghast for once? And like the next guy I come across is like, motherfucker, move. And he just like kicks me in the ass. And I was like, great. For all that fucking setup.
Throughout the entire series, we don't see the Helghast as nothing more than fucking space Nazis. We don't see when these dudes go to fucking
completely irredeemable in the first 3 games.
Yeah,
so it's really weird in the 4th one they try to change it.
We never see like we never see like the Helghast, like, I don't know, go fucking grocery shopping or like when they're
space picnic at a space park.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we don't
even see their eyes.
Yeah, like it's also a funny thing is that my understanding is that the Helghast wear that armor because the planet that they went to, they couldn't breathe the air.
Yeah.
If that works, I don't know why they're still wearing the helmets all the time. There's one person
because otherwise you as a player wouldn't recognize them as Helghast.
God.
Well, yeah, it's like their home planet, like their lungs got fucked up, and that's how they went from being humans to being the Helghast. And like, so in other environments, like they have trouble breathing, and they wear that shit because of that. So
well, it's funny, like you never see them without the helmets though, except like I guess the main dudes. I don't know. That's a side point, but it's just like I respect the idea that they're trying to give, you know, more moral grayness to the enemies and all that. But after 3 games, it's really hard to just jump in with the 4th one, and they try to force it so hard, even though the game itself doesn't really support, like the gameplay does not support the narrative they're trying to go for, because the gameplay is still just shoot Helghast because they're the guys with the red eyes. It's just so weird. It just comes off as really strange when I see these audio logs that are like one of the audio logs I picked up was from a Helghast soldier. And he was like, this idea of like propaganda where he was like, one day in the future, they will know that the Helghast were in the right for doing what they do. It's like, you mean the fact that you just straight up suicide bombed part of Vecta even though we gave you half the planet? Like, they literally act like they just, in the whole game, it's all like, kill all the Vecta. It's like, we gave you half the planet! Just fucking live on that side of the planet!
Yeah.
I don't, maybe in the end there's some crazy revelation that makes it all make sense, but I doubt it. It's just weird to see that so far in. I guess the last thing I'll bring up is that a few days ago, we got a group of friends together, and we decided to play some MMOs because my friend Taylor, who is one in that group, hates MMOs. So we said, yeah, let's play some MMOs. It'd be a great time. So
that sounds like the best reason to do it.
Yeah, so out of all of the ones to play, we decided to play fucking Mabinogi.
I've never even heard of this game.
It's like the first Nexon MMO. It's really, really old and archaic. So it was I recorded my first set until the game like crashed, and then I couldn't record it for some reason after that. But it's like I'm trying to think of all the moments. So like one of the
talking pre or post EverQuest?
This was past EverQuest for sure. This started out in like maybe 08 or something like that. It's a really early Korean free-to-play. It's like one of the first free-to-play MMOs that I know of.
Oh, Korean, that explains it.
Yeah, and it's got this weird system where, like, at the first part of the game, you choose your age, so you can start from 10 to 17, because the whole point of, like, leveling is that you get older, and then when you re-level, like, you start your age over again or something, I don't know. So we decided to play as 3 10-year-old girls and 1 12-year-old guy, which, you know, we all decided we're going to jail for that later. Just for selecting that. But it was funny is that the one person playing the guy was the girl in our group, Frox. So shout out to her. But just playing it, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it controls like horse shit. There's no quest objectives. Like, it is so early MMO that it's like, it won't give you anything to help out. It's like, talk to Duncan. It's like, where the fuck is Duncan? You won't show it on my map. We played it for like 2 hours, and I was like, what is going on in this game? I ended up walking to the next town over by myself, only to realize I couldn't go to the dungeon that the quest gave me. So I had to run back. It took about half an hour all told.
Oh my god.
Just running.
Oh, wow.
Because I selected the wrong quest.
Yeah, I gotta read this tagline. This is straight from the Mabinogi's website.
Oh God.
The most expressive MMORPG where you create a unique character and live your anime life.
Yeah, I remember that.
It totally says that on their fucking
Live
website.
your anime life.
That's the name of
That
the
is the
episode right there.
title. That is the title for this week's
That's
episode.
the title of. That's my life motto right there.
Living your anime life. Motherfucker.
I should also point out that in the first cutscene of the game, like when you create a character, there's the girl on the cover that you probably see, Chris, with the white hair and the black dress or whatever. I was watching the first cutscene, and like the second she moves, her boobs just start bouncing, and I was like, "Oh, great! Early 3D technology." And the first thing they implemented was breast physics. Great, but
It's the
playing,
best thing I've ever done.
yep, but playing as a 10-year-old girl, there were no breast physics, and that's probably for the best because there are probably
Oh,
already
God.
police
I should
outside my
hope
door.
there are no breast physics.
It's,
I gotta read. I gotta read this.
Please do.
Some of the features that they post on here, like there's one that says, again, this is straight from their website. The choice is yours. Mabinogi gives you the complete freedom to live your anime life. Settle into your homestead and engage in the simple pleasures of a cook or merchant, or step into the boots of a heroic warrior or powerful mage and start an epic adventure.
yep.
The way they say, like, your anime life again. Like, what the
Your
fuck?
anime life, Chris. Live it.
Oh, man.
I played as a Lancer, and my lance was bigger than me. It was weird. I don't know.
It is anime, Sam.
You guys, when you see that footage, you're just gonna go, Sam, why the fuck did you play this for 3 hours? Like, 'cause I couldn't stop. Cause
And then you're
at one point, I quit out,
anime.
and I just loaded up Final Fantasy 14. I was like,
Well,
I'm just gonna play this.
Sam, we ask a lot of questions that you don't know how to answer, so.
Like, how do you live your anime life so well?
yeah.
And I
Shit,
guess,
Fireball would have been a better alternative than this.
yeah. I guess, last thing is that right after that, we decided to play some Terra, which is a different Korean MMO. That one went alright. I played as the lolly class because somebody had to. We each played as like one of the class, so it was like great. So
And your character's name was Jailbait.
no, that was in Mabinogi, where you can take your clothes off as the 10-year-old girl, and then I had to go into the door because the police had arrived.
Sam, I don't want to go to prison. Just don't.
That was a very.
You had to censor this entire conversation from the
Yeah.
episode if you want to
You
avoid
think
the
YouTube's gonna be
FBI.
processing this and be like, the police are on their way. Please don't move.
Fucking Chris Hansen's gonna show up. Say, "Want to have a seat right over
You
there?"
want to have a seat over here?
Chris Hansen will
Have a
come
seat.
out of his decidedly early retirement.
That would be great if Chris Hansen came to my house, like, have a seat over here and tell me about your anime life. Like, well, I was playing as this 10-year-old girl. Oh,
And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'm very aware of that."
It's like, you know you're in trouble as soon as you see that door with the bead curtain. You're fucked. You're like, oh man.
Once you see that picture of tea on the countertop.
oh God. But so yeah, Terra was a bit more interesting. The first time we played through Terra, it was me and Taylor, and he was so completely smashed that he doesn't remember any of it, which was fantastic. But we had such great moments as people arguing about Radeon versus or ATI versus Nvidia cards in the public chat.
Oh, fantastic!
Which was great. And then I just remember I kept reminding me of stuff that happened as we were replaying it with the two other people there. And like at the very end, I just remember that he was so drunk. I was like, Taylor, we're gonna ride this Griffin, and then we are done with the tutorial island, and we can play the real game. And he just said no. It's like, what do you mean no? He's like, no. And I was like, dude, we're done! Fucking go to the Griffin, ride it so we can be done! He says, no. He was just so drunk, and he just, like, passed out. And I was like, great.
Why
so
leave the tutorial?
we can never leave now. But we ended up getting through that, and it's like, I don't know, Terra's kind of cool, like, in an action MMO kind of way. But Tutorial Islands kind of sucks.
In a really dumb way, you reminded me of something me and one other friend of mine used to do in the original Guild Wars.
Oh, God.
Not Guild Wars 2, but original Guild Wars. To kind of briefly sum up, it had this whole thing where you had these opening missions where you'd run around the town of the world and stuff, and then after you got through that, you go to the final mission, which is where, now the tutorial's done, now you go to the main game, which is where, like, everything's, like, post-apocalyptic or something. But for
I
some
remember
reason,
that,
for some reason, original Guild Wars, me and a friend of mine made a character that would just stay in the tutorial area. And the thing was, a lot of other people were doing that also.
I remember that.
They just didn't want to leave the tutorial.
I knew a lot of people like level 20 just farming the level 1 enemies.
Yeah!
That's commitment right there. Oh, I also almost forgot as I pull up my Steam list. I got gifted a game called Squishy the Suicidal Pig on Steam. It was
What?
It was 14 cents. So it's a puzzle game where the goal is to actually kill yourself. Because the story of the game is that you play this little pig and your parents died, so you try to kill yourself and the devil's like, yo man, don't kill yourself. I'm going to make you kill yourself 31 more times, and then you can go see your parents. So the goal of each level is to figure out ways to kill this little pig. Except for the levels where the goal is not to kill the little pig. Just randomly. I don't know, it's weird-ass puzzle game that only I didn't expect to see on Steam, but it was 14 cents.
God.
I mean, this looks like a platformer.
It's a puzzle platformer.
Yeah.
You anime guys, I swear, you did the silliest
It
things.
is not anime.
For a game where you're trying to kill yourself, like the video trailer, he's just trying to avoid shit, but...
Rest assured, I have played that game for a while. That is the goal. I think that's it for me, because it's only been like, what, 3 days since the last one?
Yes. It's surprising how much we've had to say since we only had 3 days since our last fucking episode.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Did we talk about... I forgot to mention, I downloaded a thing called TeamSpeak. Not a big thing, but it came with a thing called Overwolf, which is one of the coolest things I've ever downloaded ever for my computer.
It's a TeamSpeak
if you
plugin,
guys
isn't
know, if you guys know a thing called Rainmeter is a
I know what that is.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
it's
desktop
software.
customization software.
Yeah, this is like that. It's like a little widget that you can put anywhere on the screen, but when you hover over it, it appears in the game as well, in any game. And when you use it, you have little apps. And so you can listen to Spotify, you can watch YouTube videos, you can have apps for like League of Legends and Smite, like you can see your enemies' stats, your frame rate, all that cool stuff without having to leave the game, and it takes up no bandwidth.
That's something that you would probably want to have for an MMO, because I've known so many people that for an MMO they would prefer to have like a dual screen setup just so they could have like a podcast or something going while they're
game packs.
Yeah, trouncing around in WoW or something or other. Well, like not even that, but like something else to keep them entertained between the fucking running and grinding that they have to do in a fucking MMO, because those things feel like work.
Let me tell you about the running in Mabinogi.
I was playing Guild Wars 2, grinding out my my Necromancer, and the entire time listening to Dead Kennedys. I'm like, oh, this is a good day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that'll
So-
do
So
it.
Brandon,
I
Alright.
have played 2 things this week. First off, I did play more, and Chris is going to be excited when I say this, Dragon Age 2.
yeah, and I'm glad Sam is here because we need to discuss this.
Nope, we talked about it last time. I said Dragon Age 2 was great. That was the end of that.
Yeah, I've told you to shit.
So, I have finished the second act of the game, and I am on to the third act.
So how's that combat so far?
There is too much of it.
Uh-huh.
Like, if there was like half as many enemies, it would be okay combat. Because I don't mind the systems themselves in mechanical sense. The problem I have with the combat is that every time you come across a group, you will beat that group, and there will always be reinforcements. Every single fucking time. And it's really annoying.
But what I want to know is the act of fighting in that game.
I mean, I'm playing on easy mode, so it's just cast a fireball and they're dead.
You're playing a mage, aren't you?
Yes. Which
So-
I almost regret, because if you play, I hear if you play as like a warrior or a rogue, you get Bethany as your companion.
Yep.
The Rogue is a super fun class to play.
And
But yeah.
And
Bethany
if-
is a million times better than Carver.
And I am playing a mage, and fuck Carver with a lead pipe. Fuck this guy.
Carver
I hate him
is
so much.
The best character. And by that I mean it's not great.
The thing that makes me angry with him is that in Act 1, you can choose to bring him with you on the Deep Roads expedition. And of course I didn't because fuck this guy. But when I got home, he decided he wanted to join the Templar Order.
Yeah.
I'm a mage. My brother is joining the Templar Order. Does no one see a problem with this?
I'm sure it'll work out fine.
Everyone does except for the game. So.
And in fact, and the thing is, he has such an inferiority complex that if you are nice to people, he hates you for it because it makes him feel bad.
What a great character.
I fucking hate this asshole.
Yeah, I'm really glad I didn't have to put up with him because
I am so sick of him being a pissy little brother that I was glad that he vanished from my party in Act 2.
Oh, does he die or something?
No, he's in the Templars, so he's doing his Templar stuff off screen.
So Brandon, the reason I want to bring this up again is the fact, like, combat really was, because in my experience, like, I played a melee class, I played a fighter, and my experience was go to this person, hold down the button until they're dead, go to this person, and then do it again. My
experience was cycle through all your spells, wait for them to recharge, and cycle through them again.
Probably no different, though.
Not really, no. It's like Origins, the combat is you were going through the motions. You were just doing what you always do when you fight.
At least there's fucking tactics in Origin, though, man. This is...
Oh, Origins is so bad.
but it's a step above Dragon Age 2 is what I'm getting at, because...
Are we having this discussion?
I legitimately don't mind Dragon Age 2's combat. I wish there was less of it. Because it's as boring as Origins, but it has the virtue of going by faster than Origins, which makes it objectively better. Like, and the problem is that there's too much of it. Even though there's less of it than Origins, there's still too much. And like I like the BioWare games for the talky bits, the part where you're having dialogue with other characters. So this combat is just literally it is a barrier between me and the next talky bit that I actually want to get to.
I think really, because like you said, you've only really gotten past Chapter 2. I think you're going to get to that point where this is where the real issues of this game start to set in. Like, not just the story and the narrative, but... I mean,
as of right now, the thing that happened last in the main story was that I beat the Arishok in a one-on-one duel to save my waifu, Isabella.
Yep.
Because she is best character, and I will have no one say anything otherwise.
No, she was
aside from Varric. Varric's cool too.
Oh no, man, Cassandra's pretty great.
Fuck Anders too. Fuck him with a. Okay, lead is poisonous, so I don't want to fuck him with a lead pipe. Steel. We'll do it steel.
Much better.
Yeah, because they fucked him up so badly in the interim between Awakening and Dragon Age 2, and it's really annoying. I remember there was like, I can't stand him complaining about mage's persecution, and I'm a mage. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. We're persecuted. You got to get over it, Anders. Seriously. even in if you're in the Hawk estate, Hawk will constantly make fun of Anders for his manifesto. Like, there are tons of like, oh look, it's Anders' manifesto again. And you go to the fireplace. Oh, is that Anders' manifesto in the fireplace?
Is that me burning Anders' manifesto?
Yes,
why, yes, it is.
For kindling.
It makes great fire.
But like, God, Anders was such a good character in Awakening. He was sarcastic and witty, and he still has elements of that in 2, but they're superseded by this like overwhelming, disgustingly. Ugh, I hate him so much. They really screwed him up. He's not as bad as Carver, but he's pretty bad. Oh, even though he's in my main party, because it's usually either it's Varric and Isabella, and either him or Meryl. Because mages are really good in Dragon Age games.
Yeah, which was basically the focus of this, but...
Yeah. And I figured that's why I chose mages, because I knew the plot was about Templars versus mages, so I figured being a mage might add some cool context to that story. And it just saddled me with Carver, so I was not happy. But, like, the game itself, it seems fine so far, even if they do a little too much asset reuse.
Mm-hmm.
And,
there's a lot of asset reuse,
yes.
motherfucker. There's...
And I wouldn't have a problem with that normally if they had done, like, instead of you were in generic cave again, even though you're supposed to be in a different cave. What they should have done is probably, like, since you're in the same city year as the years go on, you are allowed to just literally revisit the same locations and see how they have changed over the years. That would have been fine. That's a good way to reuse assets if you're literally going to the same locations to see what has changed. But you are going to two different caves, but they're both using the same cave layout.
Yeah.
The same identical cave layout, except that some walls will be there and some walls won't be.
Nope.
And it's really noticeable because they're like certain. It's like there are very, very unique landmarks that you see over and over and over again. Like, you start to question how there are these same, like, half-finished wooden roof in the middle of a cave. Over and over and over again. And it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Nope. Sure as hell doesn't.
And
I hope you like seeing that cave.
It's a pretty good cave.
And I mentioned the cave in particular because you see a lot of the caves in particular. Like, compared to the other maps that are reused, the cave is something that you see a lot in Dragon Age 2. Apparently every villain likes to hide in the cave, or the warehouse map.
Oh, yeah, that warehouse map. Oh, God.
And it's not a terrible game, and I guess I don't totally hate it, but it has some problems. It does.
I'm just waiting for you to finish it. That's.
Anders is going to turn out to be the great hero, and everything will turn out well.
But aside from Dragon Age 2, the other game I was playing was, and this is my first time I played through it, Popo EO.
I played through a bit of that before.
It's a short game. It doesn't take very long to finish, and it's pretty interesting. I like it. It's mechanically a pretty good game, and I do love how it's a pretty obvious metaphor of the kid and his alcoholic father. Yeah. But it's a really good metaphor. It works.
Yeah, because and that was the big thing about this from the lead producer. He was kind of talking about how he had grown up with an abusive dad, and that was pretty much the inspiration for this whole thing. Which, and trying to turn that into a game. Yeah. I think was they did a good job trying to pull that off.
And I like how they're on it. I like how the main character is a Spanish boy, and that's okay. It's nice that we're not playing as a white dude again. Yeah. And I like that they're willing to use Spanish culture in the game and use those kinds of mythology in the game as contextualization for what you're doing. It's interesting. Yeah. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about it because it is a short game and there's not a whole lot more that can be said aside from those basic things. But I thought it was really neat, and it's free on PS Plus right now. So if you haven't played it yet, you might as well. You probably should.
I might check it out.
So that pretty much summarizes my week. For once, I'm not the longest segment on this episode.
I'm so proud.
What are you talking about?
Hey, you should also play Brandon.
What?
I think Spy Fiction is also free, so...
I had that downloaded.
Yep.
Wait, you mean spy fiction or counter spy?
Oh, Counter Spy. Duh.
Yeah.
I have that downloaded. I haven't played it yet.
Spy Fiction was Sweary's first game.
It's a marvel, I'm sure. So I'm pretty sure I know what game you're talking about.
Yeah, it was on PS2.
Oh. Alright,
So,
will that do it for us?
Yeah, I think that was...
Yeah, I think so.
Alright. Well, so that'll be it for this week of Interactive Friction. I have no idea when this episode is going to go up, considering we're recording it, but if it goes up on a day other than usual, that means that'll probably be the new day for it to go up, so...
So,
yeah.
any plugs, anybody?
Download Overwolf, because it's awesome.
By the time that this goes up, the teaser for Season 2 should be up, if not the first episode, so go check those out.
Yeah, and as of the time this is going out, I imagine the one-off we did for Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, I can't talk today.
Yeah, it's already up as of this recording.
Will be available for your viewing pleasure, so check that out if you have a chance. I'll link it in the show notes. Also, by the time this goes up, I will have posted my impressions of Far Cry 4.
And I helped edit it.
So feel free to check that out, and I'll link that in the show notes. And it'll probably be right below this post if you're using this on my blog.
All right. So that'll be it for everybody. So we will see you all next week.
This is the Texture Pop signing off.
Later.
Later.
Bye.